Good evening and welcome to the September 12th, 2024 special meeting of San Diego Community Power's Community Advisory Committee. My name is Matthew Basilakis and I represent the City of San Diego. As the chair of the CAC, I welcome members of the public, San Diego Community Power staff, and committee members joining us in person and online today. A special thank you goes to the stellar Community Power staff for making this in-person meeting possible and the City of San Diego for accommodating us today. Thank you as well for the flexibility in the start time of this meeting today. I will now call the meeting to order. Our meeting clerk, Marisela Hernandez, will now call the roll.
Chair Basilakis.
Present.
Vice Chair Emerson.
Present.
Secretary Castañeda.
Present.
Committee Member Sclafani.
Present.
Committee Member Jones.
Present.
Committee Member Hammond.
Present.
Committee Member Sandoval.
Present.
Committee Member Hoyt.
Present.
Committee Member Anderson.
Anderson present.
Committee Member Harris.
Here.
Committee Member Cáceres.
Present.
Committee Member Montero Adams.
Present.
We have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Wonderful, we have a quorum. All right, I will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We would also like to take a moment to respectfully acknowledge that the Kumeyaay Nation are the original inhabitants of the land now known as San Diego, where this meeting is taking place. Today we carry their legacy forward, ensuring that their traditions continue to thrive in gratitude and strength, and we stand with the Kumeyaay Nation connected to our past and committed to a more just, sustainable, and resilient future for all. All right, with the quorum present, first up on the agenda is special presentations and introductions. And today we would like to give a warm welcome to Luis Montero Adams, who is joining the CAC as the newest representative for the City of San Diego. Luis was appointed by the Board of Directors this past August. Luis, would you like to address the group?
I would love to. Hi everyone, Luis Montero Adams, pronouns he, him, his. It is an honor to be here with you all today, so thank you so much for welcoming me warmly. Just wanted to share a little bit about myself, stating that, whenever I meet new people, I like to share that I'm the oldest of two children born to undocumented immigrants. I recently redid the math, and 98% of my life has been within a 2-hour driving radius of the San Ysidro border. So San Diego, Tijuana, Mexicali, if you can drive it there, that's about me. For about 8 years, I had the pleasure of being an international commuter, living in Tijuana and Rosarito, crossing the border for school. And when I was a young child, my dad grew up, or as I was growing up, my dad worked as an electrician as a profession. So it's a full circle moment for me. And as someone who recently installed solar panels and now drives an electric vehicle, this is a very exciting next step for me. So thank you again, and looking forward to this work.
Thank you. Welcome again. Today we're also welcoming the following staff to Community Power's team. Melissa Elder, Community Engagement Associate, and Fernando Tapia, IT Systems Engineer. Would either or both of you like to address the group?
Hi, good evening. I am so grateful to be here. Can you all hear me okay? Great. Melissa Elder, she, her pronouns. I'm the Community Engagement Associate, and I am very delighted to be a part of such an incredibly talented and committed group at San Diego Community Power. I said that a few weeks ago, and I'm still very deeply feeling that way being a part of this group. I bring with me a wide range of experience gained over a decade, starting as an environmental engineer and eventually transitioning into community engagement, social justice advocacy work in various public and private sectors, nonprofits, startups. And as a part of my role here, I will be focused on building and maintaining relationships with community-based organizations, in part to bring awareness about what we're doing here at Community Power, but most importantly to collaborate to co-create an ecosystem to create a more sustainable and equitable San Diego County. And I'll share a little bit more about that later on, but I'm really grateful to be working alongside all of you as well to make that vision reality. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Fernando Tapia, and I'm the new IT systems engineer for San Diego Community Power. As many of you, as our local San Diego, I am a former Aztec from SDSU. I went ahead and majored in between business administration and information systems management. So I have a lot of professional background in a lot of local San Diego companies. And I think one of the biggest things I could go ahead and help with San Diego Community Power is implementing world-class data analytics and IT support throughout all organizations. It's a commitment of mine to completely understand every department and how our information systems department can assist all of the missions accomplished for every department in San Diego Community Power. So I think once again, thank you guys for letting me be in here and even just allowing me to speak. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Wonderful. Well, that concludes special presentations for today. Do we have, or actually, we're going to move on to non-agenda public comment. Just as a reminder, written public comments submitted before the committee meeting are emailed to all CAC members prior to the committee meeting and will be posted on the website at the beginning of the meeting. Madi, do we have any non-agenda public comment?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Are there any items to be withdrawn or reordered on the agenda?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madi. All right, we will now move on to the consent calendar. The consent calendar contains items that can be approved as a package without discussion, unless a CAC member or a member of the public requests that an item be removed for separate discussion and action. The CAC received staff reports for all items on the consent agenda, and staff provided an opportunity for questions and comments during briefings prior to this meeting. Today's consent calendar, or agenda rather, includes 1, approval of the July 11th, 2024 CAC meeting minutes. 2, update on marketing, public relations, and local government affairs. 3, update on customer operations. And 4, update on programs. Madi, do we have any public comment on any of these items?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madi. Is there anyone who would like to remove any item from the consent agenda for a separate vote? Seeing or hearing, so seeing no objections or requests for removal, I will now turn over to committee members for a motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Secretary Castaneda and second by Committee Member Anderson. Madi, can we please call the vote?
Chair Vasilakis,
Aye.
Vice Chair Emerson,
Yes.
Secretary Castaneda,
Aye.
Committee Member Sclafani,
Aye.
Committee Member Johns,
Aye.
Committee Member Hammond,
Aye.
Committee Member Sandoval,
Aye.
Committee Member Hoyt,
Aye.
Committee Member Anderson,
Anderson, aye.
Committee Member Harris,
Aye.
Committee Member Casares,
Aye.
Committee Member Montero Allen.
Aye.
Passes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. That motion passes. We will now move on to our regular agenda, starting with item 5, regulatory and legislative affairs update. We'll turn over to the regulatory and legislative affairs team for the presentation.
Hi, can you hear me okay? Okay, let's go ahead to the next slide, please. So I have the pleasure of sharing for the first time.
Maybe I should press your button. Is it on?
Can you hear me now? There you go. Okay. You can hear me better now. So I will start over. This is the update on regulatory and legislative affairs. I just have one slide today, and I have the pleasure of sharing with you something that has not been reported out verbally yet to this committee, which is that on August 1st, the California Public Utilities Commission officially approved the San Diego Regional Energy Network. It's a huge victory, not just for the policy team, but especially the programs team. I just get to be the first one to tell you, so I'm really excited about it. It's a $124 million budget over 4 years. We basically got everything that we asked for. There were some comments filed to the Public Utilities Commission. There was very little pushback. And so it's just a really exciting item for our organization. And it kind of ties into our legislative update, which I will not be giving. That will be Patrick, who is joining us remotely. Let's see.
I'm here.
Okay, I don't see you, but I'm glad that you're there. So I will turn it over to Patrick.
Thanks, Laura. Good evening, Community Advisory Committee members. Patrick Welch, Senior Legislative Manager for San Diego Community Power. Pleased to be providing this update today. I'm going to be providing an overview of what happened in this legislative year. The The legislative session concluded on August 31st at midnight, and the governor has until September 30th to sign or veto bills that were sent to him by the legislature by that August 31st deadline. Just flagging, and you'll see this throughout my presentation, that ratepayer affordability really was the largest energy topic this year in Sacramento, is really front and center for legislators. I think primarily because a number of new costs started to show up on customer bills at the beginning of the year, wildfire costs, distribution costs. And so legislators received a number of calls from their constituents asking what's going on with their energy bills. And that translated into hearings and legislation on costs for electricity. Just to quickly let you know a little bit of schedule too, there will be a new legislative session beginning on December 2nd after the November election. And this year, San Diego Community Power's legislative engagement, really just as a reminder, is guided by our board-approved policy guidelines, which have three major pillars. And these are posted on our website on an individual web page. And those three pillars are accelerating deep decarbonization equitably, promoting local development, and stabilizing community choice. Next slide, please. And before I go into the key bills that we engaged on, we also spent quite a bit of time this year highlighting a few key things for our legislative delegation, legislators from San Diego, as well as key policymakers. And those two key issues were affordability. As I mentioned, affordability is a top topic this year, really highlighting the actions that the SDCP board took to reduce rates and also create new rate choice. And also highlighting a persistent problem that our team has seen, which is that of unpaid bills, what we call arrearages. This is a statewide problem, not something that's unique to SDCP, but continued to find opportunities to demonstrate that as a persistent problem in terms of business operations. And then we also promoted the really good work of the board and the SDCP staff of doing the work of what it takes to meet our clean energy goals, both the local goals and our state goals. And that's doing the procurement work. We've procured over 2.6 gigawatts of new resources, a lot of solar and storage, wind, some standalone storage. So really just trying to tell a story to our legislative delegation and policymakers in Sacramento about what SDCP is doing to transition the grid to clean energy, and also highlighting some of the challenges we face. Next slide, please. So our support of legislation this year, we ended up supporting 12 bills, really focused on making sure that ratepayers are protected from excessive capacity payments from the Public Utilities Commission, making sure that the Public Utilities Commission has new tools to oversee certain costs of investor-owned utilities. Locally, we supported legislation that would allow up to 6 different project home key sites. Those are state-sponsored sites for the formerly unhoused to ensure that they have access to the appropriate low-income customer discount, known as the CARE rate discount. We also focus a lot on transmission. We know the state and the grid needs a lot more transmission to meet our clean energy goals. So we focus on legislation of how can we meet those transmission needs at a lower cost to ratepayers. And so there were a number of bills this year that put forward solutions known as grid enhancing technologies, which uses the existing transmission system and finds more cost-effective ways to improve it rather than building new lines. And then finally, we also supported really what I think is really cool legislation to give the state authority to see which electric vehicle models should be bi-directional so that their batteries can help support the grid in a distributed manner to provide reliability and energy benefits as well. So all 6 of these bills here were approved by the legislature. We're hopeful the governor will sign them. We'll be requesting his signature. Next slide, please. We also supported another 6 bills that unfortunately didn't make it to the governor's desk, including one. I think discussed, or at least provided it in reports before, that would have provided the Community Advisory Committee and similar subsidiary bodies a little bit more flexibility in these meetings from the Brown Act, so that there aren't as cumbersome of rules to meet virtually. Unfortunately, that bill was not advanced, and we're hopeful it'll come back. We also supported a number of other bills on affordability and reducing transmission costs that unfortunately were not advanced this year as well. And there is more detail on all of these bills in the staff packet, or the staff report. So if you want to look in more detail, please refer to that. Next slide, please. And then I'll finish my presentation and kind of bring it back a little bit to the REN, the great news about the REN that Laura shared. The legislature really dug into this issue of affordability, and that led itself to scrutiny of what are ratepayers paying? And that scrutiny led to, well, there's a whole bunch of programs actually that ratepayers fund through their energy bill. And some of those programs are energy efficiency programs. And so a group of legislators really dug into that and thought, is it appropriate for ratepayers to be paying for those types of programs? And so we spent a lot of time educating our legislative delegation, key decision makers on the value of SDREN and other similar energy efficiency programs, noting that they really only account for 1.7% of ratepayer costs statewide, and that we really think they are key to the clean energy transition, lowering costs, helping customers save on their bill. And so while there was this discussion of affordability, they wanted to put together what I would call a legislative affordability package. How can we advance a number of bills by the end of session to reduce costs for ratepayers? Ultimately, they put forward 3 bills at the end of session, and one of those bills was approved and sent to the governor. That bill, AB 3264, doesn't make any operational or cost changes that ratepayers face, but would create a series of new reports that then would be issued to the legislature for future decision-making. Among those reports would be greater transparency on energy efficiency and demand-side management programs like SDREN. The legislature did not adopt another bill that would have returned funds from a number of existing programs at the Public Utilities Commission and Energy Commission to create a one-time bill credit of $30. And they unfortunately did not advance another piece of legislation that would have created greater oversight over wildfire costs. So we're waiting to see if the governor is going to sign AB 3264 into law. We're tracking that really, really closely, working closely with our programs team on that as well. And just to wrap up the presentation, it's likely that affordability will continue to be really a key topic in 2025. And if that bill, AB 3264, is signed into law before September 30th, those reports will probably act as new information for the next legislature to consider in 2025 and maybe 2026, additional action to reduce costs to ratepayers. And with that wraps up my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions, should there be any. And thank you very much for your time this evening.
Great. Thank you for the presentation.
Mr. Chair, we have a question by Committee Member Hammond.
Oh, thank you. Noted. Before we have any questions, Mike, do you have any public comment on the item?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right. Well, we'll turn over to the CC members for questions, comments, and discussion, and we'll start that with Committee Member Hammond.
Thank you, Matthew, and thank you, Patrick. I heard that there's a closed door legislative session right now to address the energy affordability, and I was wondering if SDCP is engaged with that at all.
I'm not aware of a closed door session, but there is a special session right now that the governor called.
Yes, sorry, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, he did on the last day of the normal legislative session. He called a new extraordinary session, and that is really focused by the proclamation on oil prices. And in a special session, legislators are limited to legislating on what's declared in the proclamation. So unless they expand that, right now it's just focused on the gas that goes into your car. Nonetheless, we are tracking it because I think it's affordability related. And so you never know how these legislative discussions are going to evolve over time and what they turn into. So we are paying attention to it.
Okay, thank you. And then you talked about needing more transmission lines. We know many of us advocated for community choice energy here in San Diego 10 years ago, and we wanted to see more local rooftop solar and storage, which would reduce the need for more transmission lines. Is that part of SDCP's argument?
Definitely. And now that we've launched our solar battery savings program, which I think the programs team may provide some updates on, that gives us a more robust, and the SD-Bren, a more robust story to start telling about that. And it's about, I think, the perspective, Tara, that I think we're trying to say is we're procuring the grid scale ones, but we've also got these great programs we're implementing, and it's kind of trying to do both at the same time to meet our collective goal. So we're going to start weaving that in even more so than we have so far.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks for the questions.
Committee Member Harris.
Yes, I wanted to ask about the integrated resource planning. When AB 1373 was first proposed, we were concerned about how it might affect our procurement policies and programs and our autonomy in pursuing renewable energies. And I just wondered, with this decision by the CPUC, do we see any significant impact in our power procurement program?
I can take that. So with the final decision, the way that it ended up is such that there's a potential need determination up to a certain amount. We put the amounts in the staff report, 7.6 gigawatts for offshore wind, 1 for geothermal, 12 for long duration energy storage, and 1 gigawatt for multi-day long duration energy storage. The way that the final decision came out, it leaves open the possibility of there not actually being procurement. It's just opening the window that there could be. So I think like actual impacts are yet to be determined. Obviously, we hope that there will not be any procurement as a result, but there certainly could be, and then we'll need to take that into account in our portfolio.
Thank you.
Committee Member Jones.
Yeah, and speaking of impact, I would just like sort of like a top level opinion on the one item that was shown there, about resource adequacy, AB 1834. And I'm wondering if that provides a huge amount of relief to already procurement problems here at SDCP, or it was just a little helper.
Did you want to take that one, Patrick?
Yeah. And if that's signed into law, committee member, I think it would unfortunately be a minor helper, not a major helper. But we still think it would be valuable in the global scheme of things.
Thanks.
Committee Member Says.
I just have a quick comment. I think that 50% is actually really good results for our advocacy this year. And I wanted to congratulate everyone at SDCP for a job well done, because it is not easy to get these things through the legislature. So thanks for your work on this. And also want to point out that a third of them, so 2 of the bills were by Assemblywoman Berner and Senator Padilla, who are both local legislators. So wanted to say thank you to them. I think it's a pretty cool result here. That's all. Thank you.
Committee Member Harris.
I also wanted to commend staff for the year-long effort or longer to bring a REN to San Diego. It really is filling an important void that existed for many years. One of the only regions in California that didn't have a regional energy network. And I know a lot of hard work went into that from multiple teams within SDCP, and it's a major victory for our organization. So
Thank you so much. Yeah, you're looking at me, but so much work was done by many other people. I had very little to do with this huge success. I just got to tell you good news.
Great. Any other questions, comments? All right, well, I'll just close out by saying 100% agree on the REN. Really appreciate that. I know that effort had been going on 10, 15 years in the region, ideating on that. Pushing up against the incumbent utility that was very resistant to it. And now we're in a place where we have this wonderful new institution that'll help us bring these funds together. And I really appreciate the regulatory and legislative eye that we have to protect those funds and that opportunity now that we have them. So Thank you all very much for working as hard as you do, balancing all the very difficult challenges that pop up very haphazardly and randomly. Thank you. All right, well, this is a file received. We'll move on to our next item, which is item 6, Community Clean Energy Grant Program. I will turn it over to Allison Sertlock, Senior Program Associate, and Xiomara Crespo, Senior Community Engagement Associate, to provide the presentation.
Thank you. Hi, Allison Sertlock, Senior Program Associate.
We're tag teaming this from each side of the room. My name is Xiomara Crespo, Senior Community Engagement Manager.
Awesome. Today we will be presenting an update on our 2023 and 2024 Community Clean Energy Grant Program cycles. Our grant program provides funding to community-based organizations and nonprofits to implement projects that move communities towards a healthier, more sustainable clean energy future. The program is guided by our Community Clean Energy Grant Program policy, which was first approved by our board in December 2022 and last amended in February 2024. So we're already on the background slide. So for some background, the goal of our grant program connects back to a couple years ago when we were developing our community power plan that was approved in 2023. The Community Power Plan identifies grant programs as a short-term initiative for community power to support community-based organizations in implementing clean energy projects. And the focus areas of our Community Clean Energy Grant Program were informed by a community needs assessment that we conducted during that Community Power Plan process. And so in March 2023, Community Power, in partnership with the San Diego Foundation, first launched our community grant program. And then the following October, San Diego Foundation was selected to provide ongoing program administration support for the next 3 program cycles. And then this last February, we launched the second grant cycle, which we are going to present on later. So on the next slide, this is an overview of our 2023 cycle. So the total amount that we awarded was about $390,000. And organizations for the first cycle were able to apply for grants up to $45,000 for projects lasting 12 months or less. And then on the next slide. So during the 2023 grant cycle, Community Power and San Diego Foundation awarded grants to 10 organizations. Their 12-month reporting period just concluded, so we wanted to share some overall highlights. Through the 10 grant projects, we were able to increase energy literacy and education by engaging more than 5,000 community members through workshops and community events. We were able to improve energy awareness about energy savings for more than 1,700 households in communities of concern and affordable housing communities. We were able to support green jobs and internship opportunities for 15 workforce development trainees. And we were able to enable about $175,000 of additional resources to be leveraged. And then on the next few slides, we'll be reviewing highlights of each of the 10 projects, and CEO is going to kick us off.
This is a lot of really exciting information, so I'll try to stick with us. So starting off with MAC's Project's Electric Vehicle Access Program, which reduces carbon emissions and increases renewable energy usage. Oh, too close? Yeah, you can hear me now. Projecting. Yeah, and conducted 13 outreach workshops and 17 community events, reaching a total of 2,875 individuals total. They also provided application assistance to 43 community members and awarded 15 mini grants for this purpose. With the United Women of East Africa's Clean Energy Program, they hosted 72 workshops as part of its 6-week sustainable energy education and outreach program designed to promote sustainable energy behaviors and reduce energy consumption and cost in low-income households. The La Mesa Parks and Recreation Foundation's Electric Tool Lending Library and Green Community Events purchased electric landscape tools, batteries and chargers, an electric generator and supplies for the city of La Mesa, and educated over 500 residents during 5 different workshops. In the Environmental Health Coalition's Holistic Healthy and Climate Resilient Homes successfully completed the installation of a solar and battery system in a national city household, as well as electrifying their appliances.
And then on the next slide, Community Housing Works did a community partnership program, and they installed 71 smart light switches in an affordable housing complex and increased energy awareness around energy consumption. And then Climate Action Campaign held a building electrification outreach project. They organized and conducted 2 interactive workshops, engaging 40 participants, and they also provided 2 portable induction stoves, cooktops through
and opportunity selling at the workshops. And then San Diego Green Building Council has their electric home cooktop programs. They were able to conduct paid outreach about their program, increase the number of loaner kits, and they added an additional loaner kit location. And then Hammond Climate Solutions Foundations did a solar and storage project for communities of concern. And so they ended up installing a solar and storage system for the Sherman Heights Community Center, which helps them reduce their utility bills and invest those savings into their mission. And they also increased community education about clean energy.
Casa Familiares Casa Verde engaged 2 cohorts of interns to help relaunch their large-scale Construyendo Juntos community forums and supported 3 workshops with over 80 attendees. And last but not least, Grid Alternative Solar and Electrification Readiness in Communities of Concern completed 3 home projects, including electrical panel upgrades and solar installations. This was at the time of that this report was due, so 5 home projects were still remaining. 3 home roof repairs to support solar installation and facilitated 80 hours of trainee time on installations with an expected 120 remaining as well. So once the inaugural 2023 program was underway, staff quickly began planning the 2024 program. And I just want to recognize the CAC members that were part and volunteer of our community grant program ad hoc committee that was formed earlier this year to really provide provide feedback and inform the guidelines of this new grant cycle and provide staff with super valuable feedback on how to move forward. The 2024 cycle's budget was significantly larger, as you can see, due in part to the to the addition of a new partner. This last cycle included funding from Calpine Energy Solutions, Community Power's back office provider, which committed to providing 3% of their annual service fees paid by Community Power to community organizations under its professional services agreement. San Diego Foundation secured additional funding, we're so grateful, and under these 3 sources totaled more than $1.2 million. With a larger budget, the maximum grant allocation went up to $100,000. And for this year, grant funds were required to be expended within 24 months from their award date. Now, similar to the year prior, applications were required to be led by a nonprofit with a 501c3 public charity status, and applicants needed to demonstrate proven experience serving community members through projects or programs. Proposed projects needed to serve community power customers, directly relate to clean energy, and advance 1 or more of the following focus areas: increasing overall energy literacy of community power customers, energy-focused educational programming that encourages clean energy use, particularly for youth, improvements in indoor and or outdoor air quality related to electrification, workforce development opportunities that support careers in the clean energy industry, and improved energy resilience to ensure communities can avoid, prepare for, minimize, adapt to, and recover from energy disruptions. Promotional and outreach activities included webpage updates, a pre-recorded webinar, press releases, newsletter updates, targeted email blasts, and social media posts as well. A collaborative evaluation committee consisting of staff from Community Power, San Diego Foundation, and Alpine reviewed, scored, and selected applications based on the evaluation criteria listed in the table shown here, which included funding priority alignment in program design, feasibility or a clear capability to implement the proposed project with the proposed budget, community served with an emphasis in communities of concern, and impact and growth and its potential to be replicated or expanded out of the program for a total possible 50 points. The 2024 grantees were announced this past August during a press conference hosted at the Olive Gardens and Learning Center, which under a partnership with the Hammond Climate Solutions Foundation will receive solar and storage to help the nonprofit reduce its reliance on the electricity grid. This is one of 16 projects being awarded during this grant cycle. So I'm excited to announce the following projects. Chula Vista Elementary School District received $75,000 for its Steaming into Clean Energy with the Energy Station, which will provide out-of-classroom experiences in science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics, where students take on different career roles aligned with priority job sectors identified by the San Diego Workforce Partnership. Grid Alternative San Diego is receiving $100,000 to complete 20 single-family clean energy projects in communities of concern within the next year. Groundwork San Diego, Choyas Creek, received a little bit over $94,000 for an energy education project that will enhance energy efficiency and air quality in homes and expand community literacy around the economic, environmental, and health benefits of these improvements. FBCS, or formerly South Bay Community Services, will receive $100,000 to provide low-income, minority, and system-involved youth in San Diego with pathways to employment within the solar industry. Go Greenish will receive $25,000 to continue a student-led research initiative in partnership with the University of California, San Diego School of Global Policy and Strategy, measuring outdoor air pollutants in underrepresented K-12 high schools in San Diego. Now, the Suncoast Market Cooperative will receive a little bit over $84,000 to assist with opening South County's first consumer-owned food cooperative featuring fresh, healthy, and locally sourced food, while supporting the local economy, providing education, and advocating for environmentally sustainable practices. Moving on to the La Mesa Park and Recreation Foundation, which will be receiving $100,000 to host free community electric vehicle and solar power education and install electric vehicle charging stations at a city park. The Ocean Discovery Institute will receive $50,000 to support over 457 graders from City Heights to engage in hands-on learning experiences centered around climate change and solutions to climate change. The South Sudanese Community Center will receive a little bit over $84,000 to expand a sustainable energy education and outreach program focused on City Heights. The La Maestra Foundation, Inc. will receive $50,000 to support an after-school and summer enrichment program that provides at-risk, low-income youth ages 6 to 18 with youth leadership and life skills development activities. The Climate Action Campaign will receive $100,000 toward development of the Refugee and Immigration Cultural Hub called Rich in City Heights. The project will be built on a 2.2-acre site owned by the Partnership for the Advancement of New Americans, which aims to establish a healthy, resilient, and inclusive development for immigrant and refugee communities and friends. The MAC project will receive $45,000 to support its electric vehicle access program that reduces carbon emissions and increases renewable energy usage in low-income and pollution-burdened communities through an increase in the adoption of electric vehicles. San Diego 350 will also receive $100,000 to create and pilot a high school program that engages teachers and students in communities of concern in San Diego County, South Bay on clean energy and its importance to environmental health. I Am Green, Inc. will receive $100,000 for its weatherization and energy equity program that provides education and training tailored to address the unique challenges faced by individuals and communities heavily affected by poverty, unemployment, incarceration, and environmental justice. And last but certainly not least, In Good Company will receive $50,000 to launch a program that will increase the impact of 2 existing complementary climate justice educational programs, increase energy literacy in San Diego through an energy-specific learning module, and inspire program participants to implement and advocate for clean energy in their communities. So in terms of our next steps with this very exciting programs, we're really looking forward to discuss lessons learned to inform our next cycle of what this program will look like, as well as working with the foundation to finalize the impact report for public consumption and continuing to expand our collaborative relationship with grant awardees to really maximize the impact in the community. I believe that wraps up our presentation, and we're happy to take questions.
Great, thank you so much for the update and the information. Madi, do we have any public comment on the item?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madi. Well, I'll turn it over to citizen members for comments and questions.
Just kudos, it's fabulous set of projects.
Yes, I also wanted to congratulate Hammond Climate Foundation for their support of Olive Gardens and Learning Center. They are proudly a national city. A lot of people don't recognize what a beautiful jewel it is out there, and I encourage people to visit it. They have remarkable programs that cater to immigrant communities with their Kitchenistas program. So this grant is going to do remarkable things for a national city and for our region. So I thank you for what this will do for next generations of Kitchenistas and people in the national cities. So thank you.
Member Emerson?
I was excited to hear about these programs, and and how they tie in with each other, actually. I have a question on the 2023. I have two questions. Environmental Health Coalition. I didn't quite catch about the installing solar. I'd like to get clarification what that was about. And then at the San Diego Green Building Coalition, they had a number of kits that they had available for people to test for the induction cooking. But I was wondering how many people actually borrowed them to test them out? And then what was the conversion? Did people actually buy them later on and utilize them? And I think in some cases, people might say, well, gas is still cheaper, even though there's exhaust and the pollution in the house when they use gas for cooking. But maybe if they tie in with other group activities like grid alternatives to help them get solar battery backup, they'll more easily jump into using induction cooking. So I'll just start with that one first. Is there any information on how many people actually borrowed the kits and then converted them in their cooking in their home to utilize some of those induction cooking? Do we have any information on that?
I know that they have information on it. They didn't provide it in reporting to us, but that's something that we could look into. They definitely collect that.
Okay, I'm going to ask for that information if you can follow up on that. And then, you know, if people aren't converting, why not? And can they tie in with what other groups are doing by providing solar? Then maybe that'll encourage them to go switch over to those induction cooking faster. So back to Environmental Health Coalition, could you clarify what did they install solar for? Which one, a house or their facility or?
It was for a home, and so it was part of their Holistic Healthy Homes pilot program.
I see.
Yeah, and so it was solar on a home in National City.
Very good. If there's other people that have questions, go ahead.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes, so I just wanted to recall that between round one and round two, we added one new focus area, which was youth outreach education for students and community youth. And really pleased to see five awards to programs that are going to serve our youth, and really shows San Diego Community Power investing in the future. Quite a diversity of organizations, La Maestra, Ocean Discovery, different parts of the cities, you know, so it's really, really encouraging. So thank you for investing in our youth. And then I also wanted to point out that there's a number of advocacy organizations. Some of them received grants in this round, and 3 of them were involved in starting community choice aggregation program here in San Diego, starting back in 2015, 2016. That is the Climate Action Campaign, San Diego 350, and Hammond Climate Solutions. And if not for the efforts of those 3 organizations and others to collaborate and support community choice, this organization might not exist. So I'm really glad to see that we're partnering with these advocacy organizations who are doing the groundwork out in our communities.
Committee Member Hammond?
Thank you. Thank you, David. I actually had looked back a couple years ago at my calendar, and my first CCA meeting was January 2012, which is crazy. It's been a long road, but glad it is where it is today. I wanted to give an update that the Sherman Heights Community Center project, which we've talked about, I've made public announcements for a couple of times. It finished last month, and there's going to be a ribbon cutting ceremony that everyone's invited to on October 4th. So I'll ask that it gets sent out. It'll be at 9 a.m. It's both celebrating their 30th year as an organization as well as the solar. And so it's at 9 a.m. on October 4th. But again, I'll share more information via email.
Wonderful. Any other questions or comments from the committee? Member Sandoval?
I would like to comment on the Coast Market Cooperative. So that's actually a project that's been going on in IB for a while. The committee has been getting together for a while trying to make this happen. So I'm really, really excited to see that they're receiving these grants. Imperial Beach is a food desert. Most people have to leave the city in order to get groceries, especially fresh produce. So this is going to be a big impact in our community and our health. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Member Emerson?
One more question, twenty twenty-four, the first award was Chula Vista Elementary School District. Could you go over, what is this clean energy with energy station? What does that envision to be? Can we get a little bit more detail? And I might want to go visit, even the neighboring city.
We are happy to follow up with specific details about the program. That is the name of the program, just basically providing like out of classroom experiences. So I don't think I'd look into that.
I can chime in as well that they're already running this station currently, and so there's information available on it.
So it's more outside of the classroom to get exposure with different clean energy systems. Like that, okay.
Any other questions or comments? Well, I really want to commend staff for this work. This is a great investment in our community. It's exactly what this agency was created to do, partly created to do. Really appreciate the subcommittee that worked on this next round of grants. I really appreciate the nod to youth. I think that is an incredibly smart investment that we need to make more deeply. And I'm really excited to see the results of these for the first report, for the 1-year reports in 2025 and the 2 years in 2026. So thank you very much. I really appreciate staff, committee members, and looking forward to seeing the good community at work in the future. All right, well, this is a file and receipt. We will move on to our next and last regular item. Item 7, San Community Power Network. Overview update. I will turn it over to the community engagement team to provide the presentation.
Thank you, and hello again. My name is Melissa Elder, Community Engagement Associate, and today's presentation will provide an overview of the Community Power Network, which aims to build partnerships regionally and collaboration with our community-based organizations to create shared ownership of our mission and vision. And the intent is to request feedback on the program from the Community Advisory Committee here to support the success of the program that's scheduled ahead of its launch. So some of the goals of the Power Network are to engage in standing partnerships that expand overall capacity, to build relationships with community leaders, to inform and equip them with the tools to be able to speak about Community Power's role in the region with their community in a way that fosters transparency, open communication, and collaboration. We want to co-create an ecosystem of partners that further our reach, community recognition, and importantly, trust. And finally, support the implementation of Community Power's customer service offerings. So the overall intent is to build and leverage regional partnerships with community-based organizations to maximize that collective impact, especially within communities of concern. Next slide, please. The Power Network is informed by San Diego Community Power's commitment to investing in our community through programs and activities that deepen our connection to customers. And this is outlined in our Community Power Plan that recognizes community-based organizations as being critical to Community Power's success. And as a part of this effort, we would like to acknowledge all of the work that community-based organizations have done to support San Diego Community Power, which we're all grateful for, and as community member Harris mentioned. So we just want to really tip our hats off to those who have advocated for our formation as a community choice aggregator, supported our Community Power Plan, who've joined us in advocating on key policy issues such as the San Diego Regional Energy Network, as mentioned earlier today, and those who have recently received funding to implement these community programs. So we really want to thank you, community partners who have done this, and we really recognize that we wouldn't be here without you, and looking forward to continuing to formalize and expand upon our work. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're looking at the Power Network in 2 distinct phases. The first phase is an information gathering phase, which would be through this launch of a request for information, or RFI, where we would gain information from organizations to understand how they're interested in working with Community Power. Our goal with this process is to understand the needs, concerns, capacity, and level of influence of community-based organizations, so that we're able to identify the competencies that are not currently held by Community Power and the local expertise. in order to build mutually beneficial partnerships and support community power programming implementation. And in the second phase of this process will involve assessing these responses to create information sharing work infrastructure to foster collaboration, communication, and programming awareness among an ecosystem of organizations that are aligned with San Diego Community Power's mission. And this will allow us to coordinate cross-organizational outreach and activities for maximum impact, recruiting for event attendees, organizing around advocacy, around policymaking efforts, and most importantly, or very importantly, seeking out joint funding to advance equity and sustainability goals in the region. Next slide. So a functional example of how we could leverage the power network to deliver on our mission is through the California Energy Commission's Equitable Building Decarbonization Direct Install Program, which is a mouthful. This will establish a network of Southern California public agencies and community-based organizations to equitably electrify homes throughout the region. And this San Diego subregion is expected to receive about $35 million, depending on the ongoing budget negotiations. And this would allocate approximately $1 million as a pass-through to implement programs through the power network's streamlined and efficient process to get funding from the state-funded programs directly to the community-based organizations. So as a partner to the County of Los Angeles, who's the regional program administrator, Power Network positions community powers to tap into organizations to carry out activities such as marketing and promoting the program, informing its implementation and evaluation efforts, customizing outreach materials so they're relevant to our communities and culturally competent, conducting in-language targeted outreach, and assisting with enrollment and income verification while serving as a point of contact to households. Next slide, please. Through this RFI, Community Power would be interested in learning more generally about the willingness, expertise, and capacity of respondents to carry out work like this on behalf of Community Power. So with the intent of removing barriers to participation, the RFI form is relatively simple. We know that community-based organizations are regularly being approached by multiple agencies and program implementers, and we understand that this work takes a lot of time and resources from organizations who may not have the capacity to deeply engage. So with that in mind, we have a 15-question submission form that allows organizations to indicate their focus area, the needs of the areas that they're serving, to understand the impact by the organization to the communities that they're serving. We want to understand their partnerships and their level of capacity in working with Community Power to implement the programs. And this is to determine if additional resources are needed to expand their capacity to support in that way. And then finally, how the organization envisions themselves working with Community Power. Slide. Okay, so with the intention of being as broad as possible, we are conducting outreach to nonprofits, school and school districts, corporate sponsors, member agencies, and special districts to invite participation. And you might be wondering, why would organizations want to participate? Well, they will get to be a part of a network of regional regional stakeholders to share ideas, projects, and advocacy for a more sustainable future. Receiving financial support to work with Community Power in implementing its strategic goals. They can expand their impact through marketing and co-branding, through sponsorships and these grant opportunities, as was mentioned with Community Power. They can directly help shape Community Power's reinvestment in communities by providing input on its Community Power plan. They can leverage a connection to a regional public agency when applying to funding opportunities, and in general, keeping communities informed about regional efforts to achieve 100% clean energy by 2035 and to share with and organize in their respective communities. Next slide. Okay, so Community Power plans on releasing the RFI later this month, and we will be releasing a recording walking through the main components of the solicitation shortly after. We are currently working with our interpretation and translation vendor to ensure language accessibility as well. Part of our outreach includes hosting 3 in-person workshops throughout various locations across the county. And additionally, we'll be conducting targeted outreach through emails, social media, and attending various community gatherings and collaborative spaces to announce the RFI throughout the next couple of months. There'll be a period of time where folks can request technical assistance from staff and questions can be submitted and will be responded to. And this initial priority submission period will be open for approximately 5 weeks, but we may continue to accept responses on a rolling basis. And we are targeting on presenting to the board the initial contracting proposal in December with work to begin early next year. Next slide. So as a part of this process, as I mentioned, we are seeking input from the Community Advisory Committee on considerations when hosting our workshops and requesting that you support in sharing the solicitation through your various networks and platforms when the RFI launches. We are currently planning a workshop in the city of San Diego to be accessible to those in the south and central areas, one in Encinitas to be accessible to those in North County, and one in Spring Valley for those located in East County. And we want to be mindful of the various geographical areas and the various agencies. And staff has been compiling a list of organizations that we intend on including in email notifications, and we'll share this list with the Community Advisory Committee as well to provide feedback on this list, as we want it to be as comprehensive as possible. So we are really looking forward to an successful launch and catalyzing deeper and more meaningful relationships, and looking forward to hearing any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mari, do we have any public comment on the item?
No, Mr. Chair.
Right. Any comments or questions from the CAC members? Member Johns?
So usually when an RFI comes out, it's like you expect like a vendor or a few vendors to, like do something that, you want to get done. Instead of doing this sounds very different to me. And in particular, it sounds like you're going to get a relatively huge number of organizations that you actually are going to engage with. Am I getting the right picture here?
That's the intent. The intent is to get a wide range so that way we can meet the needs of wide range of communities, providing different services that fall under the umbrella of achieving our mission and vision. CEO, yes.
I would just say that this RFI is the first step in a solicitation process and contracting process, after which what we will bring to the board would involve a master services agreement. And it would be released, like if you want to get into the logistics, it would be released like under task orders based on the work that we would need to be performed in different, organizations or the respondents' capability to be able to fulfill that work, and what is at best value to community power.
It almost seems to me that you don't want to reject anybody that's actually interested.
There is certainly a lot of space for collaboration, and even if an organization doesn't have the capacity at this point in time to be able to engage with us in one way or the other, we certainly want to bring them along in the renewable energy transition and keep them informed about what's going on and how they can get involved, and how we can also learn from them to expand their own capacity to be able to perform their work and serve their communities.
Thank you.
So RFI to me sounds like a request for information.
Yes.
So what kind of information are you requesting, and who do you expect it to come from? Could you clarify the bigger picture for us?
Yes, so we are planning on reaching out to schools and higher education, nonprofits, special districts, public agencies. And the intent is to collect information from these organizations to understand what their capacity is, what's their focus area, what communities are they serving, and how they see themselves in their work engaging with community power. And so as a part of our mission and vision, we're looking at transitioning for a more equitable and sustainable future. And so how do these organizations see themselves contributing to that? And so that's the information that we're gathering, which would then in turn, when we have the need to do those, that kind of work, we would implement the next step of the process.
So you're just trying to get more people involved, and so is there funding available for these different groups that might show an interest?
Yeah, so one example was the equitable building decarbonization direct install program. So that would be electrification of homes, specifically focusing in communities of concern. So there will be installations that would need to happen. And so part of that would be community engagement and outreach, and having organizations that already have trust and in that community to support doing that outreach, to facilitate that process to have.
So in the RFI, you're going to include different programs you want to get help on. Is that the concept?
We would be asking what is their area of expertise. So I think an example could be one organization does community engagement work in, let's say, Southeast San Diego. And so they might respond saying, we do community engagement work in Southeast San Diego. When we're ready to issue a task order, we know that we're going to need to do community engagement work with this building electrification.
So the task order is a way to pay them to do some work.
Correct.
So if they show an interest, you can list them as part of the stakeholders, if that's what the term you're using, of potential collaborators that you could ask to do task orders.
Yes.
A specific task. So in the RFI, you're going to list some things that you want to focus on, that we're interested in getting help on, as well as finding out what they think they can do to help San Diego Community Power.
Yes, there are some in the questions that we're currently drafting. There's some examples like community engagement work or interpretation work, or there's some things, and there's also in other box that they could say like, this is how we see ourselves engaging, so they can bring forward something new that we haven't thought.
And have similar programs been done in other regions, and are there some success examples we could glean from those?
There are some examples, but I can't recall from the top of my head which ones. I saw some, I read some, and I think also this is also innovative in a way that other ones were not.
So we're looking for a little more innovation in some of these programs.
Yeah, and I think part of it is to really meet the needs of community members instead of us being very prescriptive and what we need people to do, have them say like, this is what our community really needs, and this is how we can meet that need and how it's in alignment with community powers.
Okay, I'm getting a clearer picture. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Other questions? Commissioner Harris?
Oh, I just wanted to comment again. I just think this is so timely because we have now so many different programs that are funding, for example, solar in our communities, the solar battery storage program, some of the programs you mentioned, and it's adding up to tens of millions of dollars that San Diego Community Power now has to invest in our communities. And so to form these critical relationships with organizations and individuals working in communities of concern is so vital to promoting the goal of climate equity. And, we're going to see more money coming into our region from the Inflation Reduction Act and from various state programs that have been created recently through state legislation and advocacy of environmental justice groups. So it's really, really timely to see this forming, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the results of our efforts in this focus area.
Any other questions or comments?
Just one more comment. Going back to the grant program we just reviewed earlier, and what you're talking about doing now, it seemed like those groups that were involved with those grant programs should be part of this interaction. And how can they do more? And how can they work together with the other groups to do something that by themselves they couldn't do? So that would be exciting if we can bring this all together. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? All right, well, I'll just say one, thank you, Melissa. I really appreciate the presentation. Really appreciate staff, the innovation here. I think that this lays a very important foundation for us to build critical partnerships on the ground and to bring more people in. I think one of the biggest things I hear about this space in particular is we need more people. We need people to be aware, connected, understanding like what opportunities exist. And I think going to organizations out there who may respond to our RFI and say, we don't know what you do, but this is what we do. And this is how we think we could potentially partner with you so that we can go back to our community and bring them to your world. I think that is brilliant. So I'm really excited to see this RFI go out, and I encourage all of us to share that with all the organizations that are applicable for this and get them into this conversation so we can expand the circle out more and have more of the community in this space. Thank you. Well, that is another file received, and we will move on to our standing items. Discussion of potential agenda items for Board of Director meetings. As a reminder, the CAC may suggest agenda items for a Board of Directors meeting agenda by communicating with the CAC chair and designated community power staff before and or after a regular CAC meeting. If suggested at this time, there shall be no discussion or action by the CAC unless the item has been included on the CAC agenda. Do any of our CAC members have recommendations on potential items for our Board of Directors? Committee Member Harris?
Yes, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think our organization is almost 5 years old. It was formed in October 2019, as I recall. And I just wanted to bring that to light because I think it would be very timely for the board to have a 5-year report on all the accomplishments that we have made in that time period, and perhaps to even celebrate our 5th anniversary.
Thank you. Any other recommendations? All right, well, thank you for the recommendation, Committee Member Harris. Seeing no other, let's move on to committee member announcements. Do any of our CAC members have items they'd like to share today? Committee Member Anderson.
Yeah, I would. Yesterday at the County Board of Supervisors, we really had a fabulous day for the environment. San Diego Community Power was present, testifying on behalf of the new climate action plan, which is a pretty good plan. As you may or may not, I should turn this on. As you may or may not know, the 2012 plan and 2018 plan out of the county were massively deficient. And Sierra Club led a lawsuit, which won both times, both in 12 and 18 at the Superior Court. And when the county appealed, they were defeated and Sierra Club prevailed at the Court of Appeals. So this time Sierra Club went in very early with helping them design the new climate action plan. And I think it's had some major benefits. Moreover, when the court decided in favor of Sierra Club, they required the county to come up with a set of smart growth alternatives. And Sierra Club lobbied very long and hard for a plan called the Fire Safe and Low VMT Alternative, which is going to concentrate development in infill areas rather than sprawl areas throughout the county. This too was adopted 3-2 by the Board of Supervisors. So without diminishing any housing stock at all, we're hoping to locate it near transit, near shorter commutes, away from sprawl developments, which endanger wildlife, create long commutes, create air pollution, create fire. So this was a monumental task. I was saying to a couple of people before the meeting, not only was it the first time at a county board of supervisors I've ever filled out a slip in favor of something, but it was also the first time, other than in court, something sponsored by Sierra Club. And by the way, we got 14 other environmental organizations to join us. 350 and climate action and endangered habitats lead and so on. It was the first time that I can recall prevailing at the County Board of Supervisors. So a special thanks to Monica and to Tara and to who were the 3 votes, and they stood with us, and it was quite a victory. It's relevant because we're all in the business of trying to have an improved climate. That's what this big part of what this organization is all about. And this was a huge step. A climate action plan with 80 proposals in it. And then a smart growth alternative, which is going to concentrate development in places where it should be. By the way, Sierra Club did a study which found that the sprawl developments cost on an average of about $80,000 more for a home in the sprawl area than in the infill area. So the builder's argument that you're killing affordable housing is BS. Moreover, we looked at the insurance differences, and the average insurance in the infill areas is about 1/5 of the cost of insurance in the high and very high fire zones. So this is a big victory. I'm still kind of basking in it. It's a huge thing for the environment. Thank you.
Congratulations, Commissioner Anderson, and all the advocates that were working on that. Thank you, SDCP, for commenting as well. It's a major policy for our region and a huge victory that's taken quite a long time to get to. Committee Member Caceres?
We also have one more thing that I thought you were going to mention. We also defeated any potential moratorium on permitting for battery and storage systems yesterday. And so that was actually quite a heavy lift by a number of organizations that I was very proud to be a part of. So we will not have a moratorium. They will continue to be permitted in our county. And we're continuing on, or rather the county is continuing on with new fire safe measures that they put in place back in June. So it's really a win for San Diego Community Power. They were part of that. And just a win for, again, the environment, a win for labor, a win for business. There were a lot of really diverse groups working together on this that you don't often see working together. So it was very impressive, and it was a 4-1 win. And even Jim Desmond wasn't that against it, so it wasn't too bad.
That is, yes, I appreciate hearing that update. Thank you so much, SDCP staff, for working on that. I know that cropped up quite quickly. It's a great outcome. Any other announcements? Commissioner Emerson?
Just a couple of weeks back, there was the Bike the Bay activity, starting near the bridge and going across Coronado, all the way around, and then back to downtown. And I participated in helping guiding the bikers. There were thousands of participants. The reason I'm bringing this up is, when you have communities that are closer together, people can bike to where they need to go, not always drive. And I was amazed at how many of the bikers were electric assist bikes. So there's a combination of regular bikes and electric assist. So that's, plug it in, they have to charge up but it's a lot cleaner than gasoline. And they can enjoy the outdoor, and, so having more bikes and having communities where you can bike in your community really makes a nicer place to live as well. But that was fun to see all the early birds that came really quick, and ones who came 3 or 4 hours later. They were, family with kids. It was very enjoyable to see all the people enjoying our environment and get the fresh air, and nobody fell off the bridge or no big accidents. And I think, but just a reminder that everybody should hydrate when they're riding their bikes.
Any other announcements? All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our agenda, and I appreciate all of your participation and your wonderful talents. We are adjourned until our next regularly scheduled meeting on October 10th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. 5:30.
5:30 for next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So why didn't we